My name is Geraldine Massey, and I currently am employed at the Center for Victims as a therapist. I have three living children, a set of twin girls, and a son, and 13 grands, and three and one on the way, great grands, and I used to work for the Center of Life, which was a very enriching experience. And that's how I got involved with the project of the exhibit, I Lived, We Lived, What Did We Miss? The exhibit was a compilation of articles, artifacts, personal interviews on video, that was compiled, and it was in conjunction with the senior class at Carnegie Mellon. They came in, listened to us, and as mothers who have lost their children, and that's how I got involved. So both of my children, my oldest son and my youngest son, was both murdered in Hazelwood in 1993, 45 days apart. If you've got to see the exhibit, it's priceless. You actually get to hear mothers talk about their children, and family members talk about their loved ones that they lost and how they felt. So it puts a humane touch on the loss. We did have it at the JCC, and it was also at the August Wilson. God forbid it was a horrific event of October 27th. We looked at it as like our neighbor, like this is our neighbor that got hurt. It really rocked me individually, but I think it rocked our whole city. I think from my point of view, it showed that we were able to reach across and help our neighbors. And so we had already talked about the gun violence in our community and how it affected us. And now here it was affecting our neighboring community, Hazelwood to Squirrel Hill, and in a horrific manner. So we offered them to add some of their artifacts to the exhibit, so that they felt that we were really inclusive of their feelings, and that we were there with them, that we stood beside them. Telling the story is very therapeutic for survivors of gun violence to tell their story, because it makes them feel worthy. It makes them feel like their story is worth being told and heard. Somebody else is interested in them, and that, look, I'm able to now talk about it, like, because so many of us could not say what happened. Like, when it first happens, it's something you can't fathom to even repeat. But the more you repeat it, the more it's not a thing. You still have the same emotions. You still mourn the loss of your loved one. You still cry. You still feel sad, but you're able to tell your story for a better good, let's say, for for better outcome for someone else. It turns into that. Being connected to others that have experienced what I experienced shows me that I'm not alone. And that feeling of not being alone takes away a fraction, but enough weight. When you're connected to a community that understands and knows just what you feel, then that's priceless, because that community is there for your support. So when you're not feeling your best, they're there to say, hey, let's do so and so and so and so, or why don't we go do so and so and so and so. Like, it helped me to help during October 27th. To stay involved says that, listen, I don't forget that that happened right here in Pittsburgh and that it affected me. And it gives me that chance to give to somebody what somebody has given to me. Like, I don't get to just keep it to myself. I give it away. And so community is very, very important in reconstructing your life after gun violence or any tragedy and trauma. I went to church every Sunday with my grandmother at my grandmother's church, and my grandmother and I would read the Bible, especially if I was in trouble. That was some of let's read the Bible. If I was mad at my mom, let's read the Bible. So that's some of my fond memories of my grandmother. But one of the things that stuck out in my grandmother told me, she said, when things are at their worst, what you have to do is be grateful for what you have. If you focus on what's bad, then that's what manifests. That's what becomes real to you. And you don't want that to be a real thing. So you focus on things that you're happy about, that you're grateful for. So those words came back to me as I sat with the fact that my oldest son had been murdered too. And it was so soon after my youngest son, and my heart was heavy and broken, and I was sitting in my picture window at my house, and I was just sitting there, tears rolling down my eyes, and my grandmother's words came back to me that you have to be grateful for what you do have. So I started with my children, and I was grateful for them. And then now the tears is rolling down my eyes, and I get teary eyed when I talk about this story because it was the beginning of my journey to healing. And I that wasn't just enough. Like I didn't feel like being grateful for having my three children was enough because I was grateful, but I wanted my sons back. I wanted my father back. I wanted my husband back. I wanted all these people I had lost. I wanted them back. I didn't want them to be gone. And so I started being grateful for, I seen an ant and I said, thank you, God, for that ant. And then I seen a bird and I said, thank you, God, for that bird and a rabbit. And then I just started like being so thankful. And I remember that at the end of that gratefulness session with God, that's who it was with. It was just me and him. It was at the end of that that I really started to feel like lifted up. Like I started to feel, I actually started to feel the heaviness of the loss of my sons lifting off of me. It wasn't gone, but I was not feeling like I had like the whole world on top of me. I'm getting ready to turn 70 years old next month. And what a blessing. And neither one of my two older sisters got to be even 50. So I didn't even go back to school until I was 50 because I had this feeling of I'm going to die too. You know, they died at 50, they didn't make it to 50. So as I got closer, I lost my husband and boys at 41, 40 years old. So that next 10 years I was in grief, mourning, I was all that stuff. And then when I hit 50 and I was still alive and healthy, I was like, I better do something with my life. Like, what am I going to do in honor of them? Like, in honor of my sisters, in honor of my son. I want to live in honor of them, not like will myself away. It's a human reaction to feel that guilt. It's called survivor's guilt. What would your loved one? You're feeling this way because they're not here. But what would they say if they were here? They would say, live your life to the fullest and create a new life. You know, you don't have to create a new life and forget me because you can't forget me. I'm going to be with you always.